If I say yes, she breathed, her silver eyes trembling, you'll never be able to return home. Then, I whispered, home must be wherever you are. The wind of sang like glass breaking. It carried the scent of star metal and burning sky. Elias stood alone amid ruins that glowed faintly blue, his pulse loud in his ears. Behind him, the human ship burned, split open like a wounded heart. He was the last survivor, he thought. Then, from the shimmer of the shattered palace gate, she appeared. Princess Lyra of barefoot, her gown of crystal fabric dragging through dust and embers. Her people believed humans were primitive, reckless destroyers of balance. Yet she looked at him not with hate, but with recognition, as if she had seen him before in a dream she wasn't supposed to have. Human, she said softly, voice trembling like a song underwater. Why didn't you run when your fleet fell? Elias met her gaze, because someone has to know the truth of what happened here. The silence between them was deep and alive. A pulse of lightning streaked across the sky, illuminating the ruins of what had once been her throne room. Every shadow trembled as if listening. Lyra took a slow step closer, her eyes, silver flecked with violet fire, searched his face. You came seeking peace, she murmured, but peace died before your ships ever entered orbit. She raised her hand, a faint shimmer of energy forming around it. Elias tensed, but she hesitated, her fingers trembled. He saw fear, not of him but of what surrounded them. Something deeper moved beneath the palace floor, a low hum ancient and cold, the ground shivered with it. In the distance, alien bells tolled, each sound stretching across the broken skyline like a warning. What is that? Elias asked. Lyra's voice dropped to a whisper. The heart of it's waking. My advisors thought it could defend us from your species. They were wrong. The ruins began to quake, glowing veins of light spidering outward beneath their feet. A rhythmic pulse rose from the ground, like a heartbeat slow but growing faster. Elias reached instinctively toward her. We have to move. But she didn't move. She looked beyond him, toward the smoke and the torn banners of her people, then back into his eyes. You don't understand, she said. The heart only wakes for a royal's fear. It's bound to my pulse. If I lose control, it will burn the world. The tremors intensified. Shards of crystal rained from above, hissing in the charged air. Elias grabbed her hand, ignoring the searing heat radiating from her skin. Her eyes widened. Trust me, he said. I've seen worlds die. I won't let yours be next. For a moment, time folded into stillness, the human soldier holding the alien princess beneath a collapsing sky. Lightning reflected in her tears, and something ancient passed between them, something neither empire had words for. A new sound echoed from the depths, metal grinding, almost breathing. The ground split open, revealing a massive core of light pulsing like a living sun. Lyra's voice was a trembling whisper. It's awake, and now it can hear you too. Elias tightened his grip on her hand as a column of light surged upward, splitting the heavens in half. The roar was deafening, like a god's heartbeat shattering stone. He looked at her through the blinding radiance, his words barely audible through the thunder. Then tell me how to stop it. Lyra's gaze softened. You can't stop it, she said, her voice breaking, but maybe you can change it. Their hands burned with shared light as the ruins dissolved into the storm. Two hearts, human and alien, pulsed in sync with the awakening core. Somewhere deep within the roaring storm of energy, a faint whisper trembled between them, one that neither fully understood yet. A beginning. The storm had ended, but the silence it left behind was heavier than any thunder. Elias opened his eyes to find himself lying amid a field of luminous dust. The palace was gone. The sky was no longer red but pale gold, like dawn stretched too far. The air hummed faintly, alive with unseen voices. Lyra stood a few steps away, her gown torn, her silver hair drifting in the strange light. She looked both regal and broken, like a queen standing in the ashes of her own crown. You survived, she murmured, half to herself. Elias pushed himself up, his hands sinking into the soft, glowing soil. I'm hard to kill. Lyra smiled faintly, but her eyes were shadowed. Then you are rarer than you know. The heart, it didn't destroy us, it moved us. Moved us where? She turned toward the horizon. What Elias saw took his breath away. The world beyond shimmered in impossible colors, floating towers, silver rivers flowing upward, trees that glowed with veins of light. And above it all, hanging motionless, was a massive sphere of pure energy, the heart of it pulsed softly like a heartbeat in the clouds. It's showing us its memory, Lyra said quietly. This is what our world once was before we forgot how to listen to it. Elias took a step closer, the hum grew louder in his bones. Then this is a dream. Not a dream, she whispered, a test. A sound cut through the stillness, a faint chime like metal being struck underwater. Lyra stiffened. They found us, she said, eyes darting upward. My people, or what's left of them. From the glowing horizon, shapes began to form. Soldiers of tall armored, their faces hidden behind mirrored masks, marched through the light. Their movements were slow but precise, like puppets dancing to an ancient rhythm. Elias reached for his weapon, but it was gone. Only his trembling hands remained. Don't move, Lyra whispered. They're not alive. The heart remembers them as guardians. The soldiers stopped a few feet away. Then, in perfect unison, they turned their heads toward Elias. A low hum rose from their chests. The same energy that surrounded the heart now pulsed within them. Lyra's expression changed. It's reading you, Elias. What does that mean? She swallowed hard. It means it wants to know what kind of man dares to touch its chosen heir. The light intensified around him, pressing against his skin. His memories began to blur, battlefields lost, the screams of dying comrades, and that one final image, Captain reaching for him as their ship fell. He clenched his fists, forcing the visions back. You said it listens to fear, he muttered. Then it'll hear something else from me. The energy flared, red now not white, the air shook. Lyra shouted, stop, you'll anger it. I've seen gods fall to men who refuse to bow, Elias said through his teeth. If this heart thinks it can judge humanity, then it'll learn who we are. The pulse wavered, the soldiers froze. The glow shifted again, this time to a deep blue, steady and calm. Lyra stared at him wide-eyed. You changed it, you made it listen. Elias took a slow breath, his chest heaving. Maybe it just needed someone to talk to it like a person. The heart dimmed, and one by one the spectral soldiers dissolved into dust. The air fell silent. Then a voice, not Lyra, not whispered through the still air, soft, almost childlike. He remembers pain he still loves. Keep him close, daughter. Lyra froze, her eyes trembled. It spoke to me. Elias stepped beside her, watching the glowing sphere above. What did it say? She turned toward him slowly, her lips parting in awe and confusion. It said you were sent to heal what even I could not. For the first time since their worlds collided, the alien princess looked at the human not as an intruder, but as someone fate had chosen. In far above, the heart of pulsed once more, like the world itself was holding its breath. The golden light of transformed sky cast long shadows over the glowing plains. Elias and Lyra stood together, the strange calm of the heart lingering around them like a living fog. Every pulse of energy seemed to echo in their chests, pulling them closer, yet warning them of danger. Lyra's voice broke the silence. It's not done with us. Elias frowned. Not done. She turned, eyes wide and luminous, as if seeing through layers of reality. The heart tests the bonds of those it deems essential. It asks questions without words, and it punishes indecision. Before Elias could respond, a column of violet light shot from the heart to the ground nearby, burning the dust in its path. From within the flare, a figure emerged, a guardian unlike any before. Larger than the spectral soldiers, its body shimmered with liquid crystal, and its eyes glowed with an intelligence that chilled the air. What is that? Elias whispered, stepping closer to Lyra. The Keeper, she said softly, almost afraid to speak its name. It is the protector of the heart's will, and it does not forgive hesitation. The Keeper's gaze swept over Elias, and the air vibrated with power. Images flooded his mind, worlds burning, empires collapsing, and a single human hand trying to hold together the chaos. Pain, courage, loss, all mixed in a torrent that left him trembling. Elias gritted his teeth. It's testing me, right? Lyra nodded. Yes, but the cost of failure is more than either of us can imagine. The Keeper extended its crystal-like arm. A holographic map of the system appeared, showing the alien worlds, floating citadels, and countless colonies. At its center glowed a crimson point, the heart's core. You must choose, Lyra said, her voice shaking. If the heart deems your choice unworthy, it will consume all that you hold dear. Elias swallowed hard. His human instincts rebelled against being judged by an alien intelligence, yet something in its pulsing presence whispered that this was bigger than politics, bigger than war. It was a test of humanity itself, of courage, of love, of the strength to act when the universe trembles. What does it want me to choose? He asked, more to himself than anyone else. Lyra hesitated, then whispered, It wants to know if you are willing to bind your life to mine completely, to stand with me even if it means giving up everything you've ever known. Elias froze, the words hung in the air, heavier than the pulsing energy of the heart. He had seen death, he had faced hopeless odds, but the thought of surrendering everything, his freedom, his world, even the faint memory of home, was terrifying. Yet when he looked at Lyra, her eyes mirrored the same fear, the same longing, and the same hope. He reached for her hand, letting his fingers brush against hers. "If the universe demands it, then yes, I will stand with you." The keeper tilted its head, its voice, both musical and metallic, resonated through their minds. "Then the bond begins, but beware human, even love must be tempered by wisdom. The heart's will is merciless." The pulse of energy intensified. The ground shook, dust and crystal shards floated into the air like stars in a void, and then a vision. Lyra saw herself centuries in the future, ruling alone, her people thriving but her heart hollow. She saw Elias standing by her side, silent, weighed down by choices made in a moment he barely understood. Her breath caught. "It's showing the consequences," she whispered. "Even the right choice can break us." Elias tightened his grip on her hand. "Then we'll face it together." A wave of radiant energy surged from the heart, enveloping them. The keeper's voice echoed again, softer this time. "Then rise, children of different worlds. Your bond will shape more than your lives, it will shape the future of all." As the light receded, Elias and Lyra found themselves standing atop a cliff overlooking a valley transformed by the heart's will. Strange flora glimmered, rivers of liquid light flowed between crystal towers, and far in the distance, alien ships hovered silently, observing. Lyra turned to him, awe and fear mingling in her expression. "We've changed it," she breathed, "but what now?" Elias' eyes, reflecting the radiant horizon, met hers. "Now," he said quietly, "we survive, and we fight for a future worth living together." Somewhere beneath the transformed world, the heart pulsed like a living heartbeat, aware, listening, and waiting. And Elias knew, in a way he had never known before, that every step he took with Lyra from this moment on would be a step into the unknown, a gamble not just for love, but for the survival of two worlds. The valley beneath them was alive with color and movement, yet a strange unease settled in Elias' chest. The heart's pulse echoed faintly, like the slow rhythm of a giant drum beneath the world. Every step they took across the crystalline terrain felt heavy, deliberate, as if the planet itself were testing their resolve. Lyra led the way, her bare feet whispering against the glowing ground. Elias followed closely, senses alert. Strange shadows flickered along the cliffs and crystalline trees, shapes that moved with no source, silent and observing. "They're not just illusions," Lyra whispered. "The heart manifests fears, it can see inside us, and it wants to know what we will sacrifice." Elias frowned. "Then we face our worst nightmares." Lyra nodded, her silver eyes reflecting both worry and determination. "If we falter, the heart will consume the world, or worse, twist it into what it thinks we deserve." As they descended into a narrow canyon, the shadows deepened. Elias felt an icy hand brush against his spine. He spun around, weaponless, but there was nothing, only darkness. The hum of the heart grew louder, vibrating in his bones. Suddenly, the shadows began to take form. Figures appeared, faceless yet familiar. Soldiers, friends, enemies, all from Elias' past. The faces of comrades he couldn't save, friends he had betrayed by surviving, filled the canyon walls. They moved silently, surrounding him, closing in. "Elias," Lyra called, her voice firm yet soft. "They are not real. Focus on me, focus on us." He blinked, trying to remember the calmness he had held moments ago. But one figure stepped closer. A soldier he knew had died in the first human fleet attack, his eyes accusing, his mouth open in a silent scream. The figure reached for him, and Elias felt a wave of guilt crash over him, threatening to drag him into despair. Lyra stepped forward, raising her hands. Her own shadow figures shimmered beside her, memories of her people, of lost advisors and a throne that never truly comforted her. Her voice rang out, steady and commanding, yet trembling with emotion. "Elias," she said, "look at me. We survived this because we trust each other. You are not alone." He took a deep breath. He could feel the heat of her presence, the grounding warmth in her hand. Slowly, he pushed back against the illusions. "No," he whispered, his voice growing stronger. "You do not get to control me, my people, my memories, my fears, they are mine, and I choose to move forward." The shadows wavered, flickered, and dissolved like mist under the morning sun. But then the ground beneath them quaked violently. A deep growl vibrated through the canyon. The heart had not finished. From the fissures in the glowing earth, dark crystalline creatures emerged, amorphous, shifting forms that seemed to absorb light. Their movements were jerky but purposeful, as though guided by an intelligence older than Lyra's empire. "We have to fight," she said, eyes bright with determination. "Together, no hesitation." Elias nodded. Without a weapon, he relied on instinct. The creatures surged forward, but Lyra's hands glowed with soft silver energy. She struck the nearest creature with a burst of light that made the ground shudder. Elias' dove, rolling over jagged crystal shards, grabbing one creature and slamming it against another, using sheer strength and human unpredictability. The battle was chaotic, a blur of shadow and light, instinct and fear. Every strike Elias landed, every shield Lyra formed seemed to pulse in harmony with the heart above. It was as if their determination, their bond, fueled the energy that surged around them. When the last creature dissolved into dust, silence fell. The canyon, now with glowing fissures, seemed to breathe. The heart's pulse slowed, becoming steady, almost approving. Lyra dropped to her knees, exhausted. Elias knelt beside her, taking her hands in his. "We survived," he said softly. She looked up at him, a mixture of relief and awe in her eyes. "Yes," she whispered, "but it will test us again and again. The heart never tires." Elias tightened his grip on her hands. "Then we'll face it together always." Above them the heart pulsed, its light calm for now but aware, watching, waiting for the next trial. The valley lay quiet after the trial of shadows, but the silence was deceptive. Elias and Lyra stood atop a crystalline ridge, the glowing terrain beneath them humming faintly with residual energy. Every pulse from the heart echoed in their bones, as if the world itself remembered the chaos they had survived and was waiting for the next lesson. Lyra's gaze drifted toward the distant horizon, where floating towers and silver rivers shimmered under a sky now streaked with violet and gold. "The heart," she whispered, "it's not just testing us, it's revealing something." Elias frowned. "Revealing what?" She shook her head. "I don't know yet, but every trial, every shadow, every danger, it's guiding us somewhere. And I think it wants me to trust you completely." Before Elias could respond, a low vibration rippled through the ridge. The air shimmered, and suddenly a voice, not her voice, not his, spoke inside their minds, clear, calm, resonant. "You have survived the first trials, you have faced fear and the bonds have held. Now you must understand why the heart wakes." Elias glanced at Lyra. Her eyes mirrored the same awe and trepidation he felt. "The heart is memory, it is the soul of this world, and it remembers all who have ruled and all who have fallen. Your presence, human, is not an accident." "What does it mean?" Elias asked, heart pounding. "It remembers humanity," the voice said. "Your species carries a spark that once existed here, a spark that was lost to fear and ambition. It watches, it waits, and now it tests if that spark is still worthy." Lyra's hand tightened on his. "It's saying humans once belonged here." The vibration intensified. The ridge shook beneath their feet. Holographic images unfolded in the air before them. A human figure surrounded by alien architecture standing beside an ancient princess whose features bore a startling resemblance to Lyra. The vision shifted rapidly: battlefields, councils, rituals of peace, then betrayal and collapse. Elias stared, breath caught in his throat. This is history." Lyra nodded, her voice trembling. "Not just history, a warning. The heart remembers the mistakes of those who came before. It wants to see if the same fate will be repeated or undone." A chill ran through Elias. The weight of responsibility pressed down on him, heavier than any weapon or armor. "So every choice we make matters, not just for us but for every soul connected to this world." The voice resonated again, softer now, almost a whisper. "Yes, and now you must learn the greatest truth of all. Trust and love alone will not be enough. Courage, sacrifice, and wisdom must guide your bond. Only then can you shape the future." Lyra's eyes glimmered with tears. "I thought I knew what the heart wanted: loyalty, obedience, control. But it's something more. It's asking us to rise together, not as ruler and subject, not as alien and human, but as equals." Elias took her face gently in his hands. "Then that's what we'll do, no matter the trials, no matter the cost, together." The heart pulsed brighter, and the world seemed to sigh, its energy flowing around them like a river of light. Then the ground beneath them shook violently. From the glowing fissures, a voice raw and urgent emerged, this one distinctly Lyra, though altered, distorted. "Daughter of, the legacy of kings demands obedience. You cannot bind your will to a human." Lyra stumbled back, fear and defiance battling in her eyes. Elias' grip on her hand was steady. "You're not alone," he whispered. "We face it, whatever it is." The ridge quaked again, and from the earth rose a throne-shaped formation of living crystal, the glowing veins of its surface pulsing like arteries. The heart's voice reverberated through it. "This is the next trial. To claim the future, you must claim it together, without fear, without hesitation. Will you rise?" Lyra drew in a deep breath, her silver eyes locked on Elias. "We will," she said firmly. Elias nodded. "Always." The light of the heart surged around them, and the crystalline throne began to transform, reshaping itself into something neither human nor alien, yet perfect for both, a symbol of a shared destiny. Above them, the pulse of the heart quickened, as if aware that the final test of trust and courage was about to begin. The crystalline throne shimmered under the violet gold sky, glowing like molten silver. Elias and Lyra stood side by side, their hands intertwined, hearts beating in unison with the pulsing energy of the heart above. Every fiber of the world seemed to hum with anticipation, as though it waited for a single, decisive act. Lyra's voice trembled. This is the final trial. The heart will test not only our courage but our bond. If we falter, everything, our people, our worlds, could collapse. Elias met her gaze, silent but resolute. Then we face it together, no hesitation, no fear. The air around them thickened, vibrating with energy. Shadows of their past trials emerged around them, warriors, fears, memories, and regrets, forming a swirling vortex that threatened to pull them apart. Each shadow whispered their deepest insecurities: doubt, guilt, loss, betrayal. "You cannot protect him," one shadow hissed, taking the form of Elias' fallen captain. "You will fail, human. He is not meant to survive." "Do you think I will let him face this alone?" Lyra shouted, and her energy flared, striking the shadow into 1,000 fragments of light. Elias inhaled sharply, focusing on her. The weight of fear pressed against him, but he refused to yield. He faced the shadow of his own past, the image of all he had failed, and stepped forward. "I am not my failures," he whispered. "I am what I choose to become, and I choose her." The vortex stilled, but the heart was not yet done. From the throne rose a figure, a colossal, semi-transparent entity, both terrifying and beautiful. Its form shifted constantly, a reflection of the cosmos itself. Stars flickered across its body, nebulae swirling like rivers of fire. "You have proven courage, resilience, and trust." The heart's voice resonated through the valley, omnipresent and eternal. "But to shape the future, you must demonstrate unity beyond fear and death." Lyra stepped forward, standing beside Elias. Her silver eyes shone with a strength that had grown with every trial. "We are ready," she said firmly. The heart pulsed violently, and the energy around them surged. Elias and Lyra felt themselves lifted into the air, suspended within a sphere of light. In an instant, they were transported to a vision of both their worlds colliding, a storm of fire, crystal, and water twisting around one another in chaotic brilliance. Cities burned, forests collapsed, and armies clashed, yet through the destruction, faint lines of light traced paths of hope and connection. "Choose," the heart intoned. "Will you fight alone, or will you rise together?" Elias glanced at Lyra, her hand warm in his, her gaze unwavering. "Together," he said without hesitation. Lyra's breath caught in her throat. "Together," she echoed, their voices blending, resonating through the storm of visions. The heart shuddered, energy pulsed outward in waves, crashing into the vision of chaos and transforming it. Fire became light, destruction became renewal, and the storm stabilized into a breathtaking panorama of harmony, a world where humans and coexisted, learning from each other, thriving together. The colossal figure slowly dissipated, leaving behind the crystalline throne, now transformed into a radiant seat of unity. The heart's pulse softened, steady and serene. Elias and Lyra floated gently to the ground, still holding hands, as the energy of the heart embraced them like a living cloak of warmth and light. Lyra looked at Elias, tears glittering in her eyes. We did it together." He pulled her close, voice low but steady. "This is only the beginning, but we survived and will build the future side by side." The heart's final message whispered in their minds, soft and eternal. "The spark of humanity endures. Love, courage, and unity are the true legacy. Rise, children of different worlds, and shape destiny as one." The valley, once chaotic and uncertain, now glowed with a serene light. Rivers of silver and crystal flowed peacefully, and the air hummed gently with life. In that moment, Elias and Lyra understood that the heart had not only tested them, it had awakened them to the infinite potential of their bond, a bond strong enough to transform worlds. Above them, the stars shimmered brighter, reflecting the new harmony of the universe. And somewhere deep within the heart, a pulse echoed, a heartbeat that would never forget the courage of a human soldier and the trust of an alien princess. The light have settled into a calm, golden glow. Rivers of silver flowed gently through valleys, forests shimmered with bioluminescent leaves, and the floating towers of the empire reflected the dawn like mirrors. The heart had quieted, but its pulse remained, a gentle, living reminder of the trials Elias and Lyra had survived together. Lyra stood on the highest cliff, gazing at the horizon. The wind lifted her silver hair, carrying the scent of the revitalized world. Beside her, Elias watched silently. The once wounded human soldier now moved with a quiet authority born not of conquest, but of courage, resilience, and love. Do you feel it? Lyra whispered, turning to him. The heart, it's still alive but at peace. Elias nodded. It listens now, not just to me or you or your people, but to all of us, to the bond we've forged. Her eyes softened, luminous and warm. It tested everything, our fears, our choices, even our hearts, but in the end it allowed us to rise as equals, side by side, and now I think it's time. Elias' brow furrowed, though he already understood. Time for what? Lyra reached for his hand, lifting it gently. Time for our vow. The wind around them shimmered as if carrying the heartbeat of the world itself. In that moment, the boundaries between human and alien blurred. The kingdom of rebuilt by light and hope seemed to acknowledge their bond. From the cliffs below, citizens of both species watched silently, aware that history was being shaped not by rulers or armies, but by the courage of two hearts intertwined. Lyra knelt, her silver eyes never leaving his. Elias, she whispered, her voice steady and unwavering, will you marry me? A smile tugged at his lips, though his heart thudded with the gravity of the moment. He knelt as well, closing the distance between them, his fingers intertwining with hers. Lyra, he said softly, his voice carrying the weight of his soul, I've faced worlds that burned, I've survived death and despair, but nothing mattered until now. I will marry you if you will have me, not as a soldier to a princess, but as a partner, as someone who chooses you every day against the universe itself. Tears sparkled in her eyes, the wind stilled as if holding its breath. The heart pulsed gently above, sending waves of energy down like blessings. And then the impossible happened. Silver light cascaded from the sky, wrapping around them like a living embrace. When it faded, the throne-shaped formation of crystal that had tested them for so long now glimmered like a beacon of unity, a symbol of a bond that transcended worlds. Lyra smiled, radiant and unafraid. Then it is done, she said softly. Together we will guide our people, protect our worlds, and honor what the heart has awakened in us. Elias pulled her close, resting his forehead against hers. And whatever comes next, he whispered, we face it together. The citizens below erupted in silent awe and quiet celebration, understanding that they had witnessed something extraordinary, a union forged not in obligation or politics, but in courage, trust, and love strong enough to change the fate of two worlds. Above, the heart's pulse slowed, steady and eternal. Its light spread across, touching every corner of the empire and beyond. In its rhythm, one could feel the promise of peace, the legacy of resilience, and the infinite possibilities born from the human spirit and the alien soul. Lyra and Elias stood together on the cliff, hands clasped, gazing out over the lands that now belonged to both of them, not by right, but by the choices they had made and the trials they had survived. And as the stars shimmered above, brighter than ever, one truth became undeniable. Love, courage, and unity were forces capable of shaping worlds. For a human soldier and an alien princess had dared to rise, dared to trust, and dared to whisper together, and in doing so they changed the course of history forever.